Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. This is part of the global emergency mobilization to end the genocide now. And thank you all so very much for joining us this morning. So I want to welcome everyone here and, basically to say we're here to launch this emergency mobilization that can end the genocide in Gaza. I want to start with just 3 quick points of overview for today's discussion. The first one, and perhaps the most important, is that in fact, we do have the power right now to end the genocide. We're accustomed to being told that we are irrelevant to the process, that humanity really has nothing to say about this, that the powers that be have decided our direction. But in fact, there are 4 conditions that make this profoundly different and which really do give us the power to change direction. And this is really our first our first message here that we want to support, namely that we do have the power and we should not take powerlessness for granted or accept that, which is basically told to humanity all the time. It's important to recognize a pro-Palestinian supermajority in the United Nations. And that's best seen in the September 2024 UN resolution endorsing the International Court of Justice rulings, demanding an end to illegal occupation and apartheid. There was an overwhelming vote. We need to remember that. That reflects the realities on the ground. It was 124 yes votes and 14 no votes. So almost by a 10-to-1 ratio. There is very solid support for Palestinian human rights, for ending this genocide now. Second point here is that the United for Peace mechanism bypasses the shameful US veto. So that too adds to the supermajority support. And then thirdly, that 1-year deadline set by the UN when it passed its endorsement and its own call for action. It gave the apartheid state of Israel 1 year to comply with these rulings. And that date is up. That 1-year date is September 18th, which is an additional trigger for action that gives power to our mobilization right now. And the fourth factor here is that global outrage against Israel's depraved criminality has reached a tipping point. People are not going to take this anymore. The manufactured famine, the slaughter of children, the starving of ordinary people and their assassination while they're standing in line waiting for food, the murders of doctors, nurses, relief workers, and the press, and ordinary families. This has become absolutely intolerable. So these things combined to give this moment incredible power for a really profound change in direction, whereby we are no longer being told what is possible. We, in fact, are speaking out as humanity, instructing those who are supposed to be representing us. We are now taking the initiative. We are taking the offense to say what must be done. And in fact, we have the power to do that. And where this mobilization comes in is that this power needs to be taken into our hands to compel our representatives at the UN and the governments controlling them, to compel them to hold the line for Palestine. The votes are already there. It's time for us to demand that that support for Palestine be maintained and that it not fade in the face of incredible US and Israeli opposition, intimidation, threats, and bribes. That's why we need to be there holding our public officials, our elected officials, and ultimately UN representatives. Their feet need to be put to the fire by everyday people. And so that pro-Palestinian supermajority needs to stand strong. And so we're going to urge you, and we're going to offer you actually many action opportunities, whether it's group letters, sign-ons, emails, phone calls, and rallies, and so on. We'll have a whole spectrum of activities that we'll be putting out, as well as, supporting very much at the core of this is supporting what these other organizations are doing as well. We will use our networks and our capacity to help lift up the actions that we are all taking together. And the more we can take these together, the more that we can build a coherent voice of global civil society here, the more we can use that power. So we look forward to doing that with you. We urge you to sign up on our website, lifelineforpalestine.com, in the sign up section so that we can all continue to coordinate. And we look forward very much to working with other organizations as well to all collaborate here. And two other quick points. One is that part of holding the line for Palestine is pushing for a strong UN resolution with real teeth and specific language. You're going to hear a lot more about that in the course of today's discussion. But that means, just to introduce it here, a UN protection force to distribute aid and to protect Palestinians, like the precedent set in 1956 by the UN General Assembly, which sent a protection force to Suez, compelling the French, the UK, and the Israeli forces to leave Egypt. Second, in this essential pieces of the resolution, of a strong resolution, is establishing a military embargo and comprehensive sanctions, which should have been established, at least 2 years ago and more, in fact. Establishing, or I should say, stripping Israel's UN credentials, as was done to apartheid South Africa in the General Assembly, and then establishing a war crimes tribunal, anti-apartheid mechanisms, and so on. So we urge you to join us, for us all to be working together here in taking action to build civil society pressure. That's the bottom line, and you'll hear more about that from various of our speakers who have been, on the front lines. I think all of us really are on the front lines of taking visible action to really push the envelope among our government office holders and their policies as passed down to UN representatives.